So we're going to have Doctor Who come back on the telly from the 11th of May, which is quite exciting. It's going to be a little bit different this year, obviously. It's all going to be on streaming services. It's now Disney's show. Obviously the main focus is on Disney Plus, which is evident in the trailer. Let's not ramble on. Let's just go into this trailer and see what we think. I have written some notes. I have seen the trailer a few times before. But I'm going to watch it again to refresh my mind. Something else might pop up which I think of, which I want to address on camera. So I'm going to talk about it. We're going to watch the trailer again together. And let's just get excited for what's to come. Hopefully. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Stick to the end to find out. The TARDIS makes quite a dramatic entrance arriving at Unit Tower. The impression I get is Ncuti's Doctor quite flamboyant. Does he like to make big entrances? Or is he just a bad driver? Can he not pilot the TARDIS? Now, I don't mean that in a joking way. During the 60s, the second Doctor, it was a common theme he couldn't pilot the TARDIS, which is a little aspect I quite liked about the Doctor. So I think it'd be interesting to sort of bring that back. Maybe the Doctor is maybe just a little bit careless of where he decides to park the TARDIS. There's another scene later on in the trailer which also confirms my suspicions.
Give me the lovin'!
Give me the lovin'. I assume the Doctor is speaking to New Rose, and this suspicion is fueled from earlier on in another trailer or teaser I think we got earlier in the year. I'm sure there was a scene or a little clip shown of the Doctor hugging Rose in the offices of the Unit Tower. So for the first couple of seconds in this trailer, we've already got a lot of energy. This season of Doctor Who is going to be filled with energy, and I think it's going to hit the ground running. So we get a long shot of the TARDIS sort of at the edge of a cliff. As seen later on in the trailer, the TARDIS is sort of abandoned, it's covered in moss. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Quite a lot of recap from the Christmas special in this trailer. Ruby is doing a voiceover, basically telling her adopted mum how her and the Doctor met. This is great for new viewers who haven't seen the show before, who are coming on board. Obviously, the Christmas special was only a couple of months ago, but for those new people coming on who haven't seen it, then they can either go and catch up afterwards, or they don't have to, because Ruby is basically explaining what's going on. But also, having the Christmas special this prominent in the trailer does make me think this is going to be quite an important factor moving forward.
And then he spoke about time travel.
The TARDIS again lands in the Sunday's family flat. It takes out the roof. I mean, that poor family, they've only just recovered from Christmas where the roof sort of caved in. The amount of money they're probably spending just fixing up the flat. Also, again, this confirms my suspicions. Is the Doctor maybe a little bit careless how he sort of lands the TARDIS? I think that's quite a funny aspect. I mean, he could end up killing someone, which is quite serious. Hang on, didn't he park the TARDIS in like double yellows as well in like the Christmas special? He's obviously just not very good at where he lands the TARDIS. Maybe that'll improve. Maybe that will be like a plot in the series. As time goes on, the Doctor will get better at parking the TARDIS. Who knows?
Ruby, you want to know my secret? I have the whole...
More recap from Christmas. Ruby entering the TARDIS for the first time, which was a lovely moment from the Christmas special. I think that was probably my favourite scene. One of my favourite scenes from the Christmas special. So I don't have a point actually. I'm just telling you.
I'm the Doctor.
We get a lovely few shots of the Doctor from various stories throughout the season. Multiple costumes are on display, summing up the types of settings we're going to explore. We have the 60s look, which we've seen before. It's the Beatles episode. What's that called? It's the Devil's Chord? I think. I don't know. I think that's what it's called. There's sort of like a monk or scavenger type look. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before. I don't think that's going to be a costume that lasts an entire episode. I don't know, actually. I think that might just be used like a fleeting little moment. But I don't know. So we'll find out. And then we have the Regency look, which we've seen before. There've been quite a lot of images. There's quite a lot of coverage of that story in the trailer as well. But what is interesting about this is we have David Tennant's face right next to Shooty's, and that story. Well, I mean, I think it looks like his 10th incarnation, David Tennant's 10th incarnation. So maybe there's going to be, I don't know, but it shows that there will be sort of nods to the past, which is quite nice.
It's called the TARDIS. It's a time and space machine.
Is it safe?
Mrs. Flood has obviously been talked about a little bit. She's going to be obviously like a big point coming up in the future. However, she only appears in one shot throughout this trailer. So that sort of makes me think, will her part sort of outlive this season? I'm sort of thinking, will her story not really be that big of a plot throughout, 8 episodes or however long the series is going to be? And then sort of as the seasons go on, depending on how long Shooty stays or whatever the plan is, then Mrs. Flood's story will play out throughout multiple seasons. And that's sort of what I'm getting anyway. I think having David Bowie changes as sort of the soundtrack or the track for the trailer is perfect. It fits really well. It makes a trailer feel really fun and energetic. I think, as I said, this season is going to be full of energy and the choice of changes reflects on how the show will be moving. Doctor Who itself will be moving forward. David Bowie as sort of a presence, I think, has always felt, quite sort of alien-esque and sort of quite suited as well. He's very doctory himself, I thought. So, perfect choice.
What if I change history by stepping on a butterfly?
Well, that's not...
TARDIS lands amongst dinosaurs. It goes to Jurassic Park. I think this is going to be the Doctor taking Ruby on a wild ride, a whistle-stop tour around the galaxy, possibly in the first episode. They're going to have loads of fun before the serious stopping monsters start.
Seen anything like this before.
Oh my, Bridgerton.
Old Susie from Torchwood turns into a bird lady. So this is more from the Regency episode. It looks like aliens have infiltrated the sort of upper class society of the 1700s or whatever era they are in. I'm not really an expert in that sort of time period. I really love Ruby's line, "Oh my Bridgerton." That's quite a funny line. June Hudson. Now, when I first saw the trailer, it's a fleeting moment, and I missed her. But then I watched it again, and then I knew I wanted to make this video, so I watched it a few more times, and I couldn't place her. I was like, I know that woman from somewhere. How funny. The costume designer from Doctor Who from the late 70s and early 80s, she designed Tom Baker's outfit from season 18. She designed quite a few costumes around that time. How funny she's now in Doctor Who, the show itself, bless her. That's nice. I like that. See Jinx Monsoon with musical notes, chords, presumably killing somebody. So almost obvious that Jinx Monsoon is going to appear in the Beatles episode, the Devil's Chord. I think. Probably. I reckon so. So next is interesting. The Doctor is standing on a landmine in the background, and Ruby is shooting at something. Now, from what I've heard, this is the Stephen Moffat episode, so that's very exciting in itself. I think I've heard that this is going to be more of a Ruby sort of focused story. I mean, you sort of get that from this shot on its own. The Doctor sort of being in the background, sort of out of focus, and Ruby's in the foreground. But obviously, standing on a landmine, you take your foot off, you blow your leg off, so you can't really do anything. So obviously it's going to be up to Ruby to save the day, perhaps. Which is interesting. A man trapped in a drum. Obviously, this is obviously from the Beatles episode again. Could Jinx Monsoon's character be turning the Beatles into their instruments? Maybe. Are we looking at Ringo Starr in that drum?
Things seem to be turning more and more supernatural.
We hear Kate Stewart for the first time, so she's obviously coming back. Great. She says, things seem to be turning more and more supernatural. So, obviously, the lean towards the supernatural aspects isn't just happening for the show, as we know that Russell T Davies had announced that. I think it was on Instagram, months ago, that the show will be leaning more towards in this direction. We now know that this is also going to be addressed in universe. So, as it's been brought up in the show, is this going to be a bigger thing than we initially thought?
Is that a monster?
No, don't be silly. There's no such thing as monsters. They're just creatures you haven't met yet.
We get the classic Doctor Who corridor. The Doctor... this looks early on. I think this is judging by what Ruby's wearing. It sort of looks basically the same as what she wore in the Christmas special. So, maybe the first episode, or at a push the second. But with the amount of costume changes going on throughout the series, I'm going to put money on saying the first episode. But anyway, the Doctor turns around and says, there's no such thing as monsters, just creatures you haven't met yet. Nearly butchered that, and it's written down in front of me. Now, the Doctor seems to be just as scared as Ruby when running from this creature. And this sort of shows the Doctor's just as wide-eyed and hungry for adventure, just as much as Ruby is. I think their dynamic is definitely going to feel more like equals, more like... I think Millie Gibson's turned around and said their sort of interactions are more like naughty school kids, which I think it's going to be a great dynamic between the two of them. Having sort of the Doctor scared of monsters again as well, sort of seeing his more vulnerable side. Again, it links back to the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and I think having the Doctor sort of wandering in and being, all brave and confronting the monsters in his traditional way is great. The Doctor's the hero at the end of the day, but it's going to be refreshing, I think, to see this new take. And I hope that continues moving forward. Because I really sort of like the idea that, the Doctor is still just as... He still gets a kick out of what he does, rather than sort of, sauntering around, sort of getting used to what he does. This would be a great way to sort of sell the scariness of sort of the monster as well to the kids. It looks like there's a big sandstorm which is sort of going through London or somewhere in England that looks quite built up and heavily populated. This was the first shot of the trailer where I sort of turned around and thought, wow, okay, a lot of money has been spent on this. Like, this looks really expensive. The next shot, or the shot a couple of shots after, is the sandstorm sort of enveloping planets. Is that what the Doctor is screaming at? The planets being sort of eaten up by this storm.
The whole world could slide into the pit. This is what we're trying to stop.
So we're now seeing a destroyed London from the Beatles episode. Does the TARDIS arrive too late? Or is this an alternative timeline, sort of akin of like Pyramids of Mars, where the Doctor takes Sarah back to 1980, After she says, "Why don't we just leave? We know Suit doesn't destroy the world in 1920 or whatever time they're in." And the Doctor takes her back and says, "This is what happens, when if we don't do anything, we don't stop him." So maybe it's that situation going on. Otherwise, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I don't know, but it looks really good.
I'm still her mum. I need to know she'll be okay. You'll keep her safe? I will keep her safe.
The Doctor talks to Ruby's mum as it cuts to Ruby getting trapped or controlled by Jinx Monsoon's character. This obviously shows that I think Ruby's going to go through as much trials and tribulations throughout the series as the Doctor will. I think they're going to be sort of fairly equal as the series goes forward. But obviously the Doctor is a 1,000-year-old Time Lord, or however old he is. So he's obviously going to come out the other end of it. However, is Ruby? Will Ruby come out the other side, or is she going to, unfortunately, meet her end? This is also confirmed that the fact that the Doctor's turned around to Ruby's adopted mum and said, "Yeah, I'll look after her." Sorry, the Doctor's been doing this long enough to know that, what he does is dangerous. I don't think he can promise the safety of his companions. I don't think he can do that. But he does. So that makes me think that something is going to happen to Ruby. So then we get changes again. David Bowie comes in and we get different shots, but this time of Ruby from different stories. So it sort of mirrors the Doctor from earlier on. We get the same setting as the abandoned TARDIS on the cliff top. Ruby sort of looks quite distressed, probably looking at the TARDIS thinking, "What do I do? Where's the Doctor gone?" Then the next shot is having toast in a pub, followed by wine at home. Has she returned to normal life at this point? And then in action, in the Regency episode, battering someone over the head with a book, That does seem quite painful. It's in quite a thick book, so that would probably hurt, I imagine. We get a stool. It's probably like a drum from a drum kit, a drum stool, smashing through a window. Are ordinary people becoming inanimate objects from the Beatles episode? Is that like some guy who works in the studios getting thrown through a window who's turned into a stool? Or is it just a normal stool?
To realise what I'm here to do. I'm going to save the world.
Ruby has a voiceover about saving the world. So at some point, will the Doctor sort of take a step back and it will be up to Ruby then? Probably towards the end of the series, probably like the last episode or something. Will it then be up to Ruby to sort things out? It might be a little bit like the 7th Doctor, sort of teaching his companions, obviously in a very manipulative way, but to become better, to become basically another version of the Doctor. Are we getting a couple, 1 or 2 Doctor-like stories this season? Obviously, I know due to availability, Ncuti Gatwa was filming the last series of Sex Education as this series was in production. So does that mean we will have 1 or 2 episodes where the Doctor's not really around to help? Which is a bit of a shame, really, considering there's only 8 episodes a season.
Everything is possible.
The Doctor says anything is possible, and then the words appear on screen, "when you can change time." And we get some more footage of the Regency episode. The Doctor looks like he's on top of things. Will this be an earlier episode, getting Ruby somewhat dependent on the Doctor to sort stuff out before we have him sort of disappear later on? 60th episode musical number. Will the musical number have something to do with stopping the villain? Hopefully.
Everything is possible.
Everything is possible. To me, this confirms that whatever happened in the 60th anniversary, I say whatever happened, I know what happened, I have seen it, I promise, it's still very much present. It's still very much going to be a big factor moving forward throughout this first series of the show, which is pretty cool. And it just proves that this is going to be a new frontier for Doctor Who. You still have Mr. Bowie shouting changes in the background as well, so it's all going to be different by the looks of things. Then we get to this shot of the TARDIS abandoned. We actually see the abandoned TARDIS. Now we've got flowers out the front. I mean, some of them look wild, but some of them sort of look like they've been placed, which then makes me think: has the TARDIS been turned to some sort of memorial, or is it a grave? Has the Doctor been killed, or people think the Doctor's been killed? Of course, he hasn't been killed. Yeah, this looks like basically the Doctor will not be around at some point. I know I've said that before, but this sort of confirms it. We get returning faces. We have Kate, who we obviously heard her voice earlier, but it's good to get a good shot of her in action. And Mel riding around on their little orange scooter. So they will obviously be almost like the returning, well, they do work for UNIT, so they are like the new UNIT family. And it's nice, Mel as well, you've got that connection to the classic series. Yeah. Great to see him back. The Doctor breaks the fourth wall in the 60s outfits. Has this got something to do with a musical number? Will the entire episode be played out like a musical number until the Doctor does something to undo that? Maybe Jinx Monsoon has maybe turned everyone into instruments and everything's playing out like a musical number, and the only way to stop that is, well, I don't know, but maybe the Doctor does something to stop that. I think that would be quite a brave move to do. Just to have an entire episode like a musical number, but in universe, the Doctor's got to stop that. He's got to make everything return to sort of, how human beings normally behave. And then we cut to the logo at the end, which looks a lot better. I love this look in silver. And I've got to say, it looks a lot better here than it actually does in the titles of the main show. I'm sorry, but it does look like a PDF. But, maybe that will change. Maybe they will have improved that by the time the series rolls around in a couple of months' time. But you never know. And as this is the trailer from the Doctor Who YouTube channel, it freezes and you can hear the little click in the background from the Disney Plus logo thing, which is interesting. It does make you think the BBC no longer has direct control over Doctor Who. It's, like I said at the beginning, it's now a Disney Plus show. That's it. That's the Doctor Who trailer. I sort of really enjoyed it, actually. It made me feel quite optimistic to see what happens. I think over the last year or so, I haven't been taking Doctor Who as seriously as I have done in the past, which is really allowed me to enjoy it a lot more. At the end of the day, it's only a TV show. There are a lot more important things in life that we've got to deal with. So, sort of just taking it less seriously has allowed me to enjoy it a lot more. So moving forward, I'm feeling very optimistic that I will enjoy this season. The trailer's done its job. It's got me sort of really looking forward to it. So it'd be interesting to actually see it when it comes out. I don't really know what else to say. I enjoyed the trailer. I've got a lot of questions, as you probably know throughout the video. So hopefully they will get answered. And yeah, just generally looking forward to it. Thumbs up from me. Did you like the trailer? Did you hate the trailer? I don't know. Please feel free, if you like, to tell me what you thought of the trailer. Are you looking forward to the series, or are you slightly dreading it? Maybe you don't like the style or the sort of direction the show's going in. Thank you for watching, everyone. That's it. I will stop rambling now. I will see you next time for another long-winded video like this, or a little short. But I'll see you next time. Take care. Au revoir. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, feel free to subscribe for similar content. If there was a particular video or section of the video you liked, let me know by liking or commenting on the video. Your likes and comments could influence the next topic I talk about. Thanks for watching.